Hey, how's it going, everyone? Welcome and thank you for joining the presentation on the upcoming Boston Passive House Bootcamp and the Massachusetts Workforce Training Express Grant. I'm Parker Mosner. I'm a enrollment advisor at EMU, and I help potential students get signed up with whatever grants or classes are going to fit best for them. Um, so a quick intro into what we're going to talk about today so you know exactly what you're getting into. I'm going to do a brief intro of Passive House and why it's important. I'm going to go into the details of our Boston boot camp that's coming up, the Workforce Training Funding Program Express Grant. I'm going to go over everything for that. And that kind of has a little bit of a complicated application process, which is why I'm kind of making these videos for you guys anyways. And I will also be providing, I've got a one pager that covers the Express Training Grant, and I will shoot that out at the end of the video. So cool. But a little bit about EMU Passive. We are accredited by the Passive House Institute in Darmstadt, Germany. We train building professionals in passive house design and construction, and we've trained over 1,200 professionals. Um, we kind of think of ourselves as a teaching hospital, meaning that on all of the projects that we've consulted on over the years, this is what we derive our data from that we use in our bootcamp teachings. That is kind of a unique thing that we source all of our own data from our own projects. And we started in Italy as an architecture firm. And we are the #1 hands-on passive house training. So I'll go over our hands-on portion a little bit later, and you guys will get to see a little bit of insight into that. And we're one of the only people that do that and have trained the most with that approach. So, um, why passive house? What is passive house? Let's get into it. Green building at the moment has a pretty large performance gap. These high performance projects are failing to deliver. And you can see here on these lead projects, the performance gap on the lead gold is huge. So if, the closest to this one line is, right on par with what their standards are. This is doing a little bit better than what they expected. This is a little bit less. And we get this huge scatter across the performance gap. Um, Here's all non-passive house projects. And down here, we can see passive house projects. The red is showing the performance gap, and it's much, much lower on these projects. And that's due to the heavy and rigorous kind of modeling that goes into a passive house project. So we can perfectly predict how the building is going to perform. Cool. And passive house, as its standard, consists of um, five principles. So first, we're going to have this entirely insulated envelope here around the whole structure. There's going to be no breaks in the insulation. We're going to have an airtight construction. We want to get our blower doors down in passive house to a 0.6, which is pretty low, especially to what people are used to and to what codes are demanding. Renewed fresh air. We're going to use this ERV here to bring in fresh air, distribute that into our living spaces, exhaust the fresh air out of our zones that might have air that we would want to exhaust. And this renewed air is going through a MERV 13 filter. It's going to be extremely fresh, and we're pumping fresh oxygen into the home, which leads to great occupant health. We're going to mitigate thermal bridges, and thermal bridging is the conduction of heat through your building materials to the outside world. So if we've got heat inside of our structure, we want to keep it there. The ERV also has a heat exchanger that helps us keep our heat in the home. And thermal bridges just helps us maximize all of those BTUs. And then lastly, we're going to use high performing fenestration. So you can see, triple pane windows with, some thermally broken properties and things. And that's going to help seal up our insulated envelope. And just as kind of like an example here, the old style coffee pot here is kind of how homes have been built for so long. They're not very well insulated. So what do we have to do? We have to have this heating element on the bottom that's pumping heat to keep that coffee hot. Whereas if we build a nice, tight, insulated envelope, we're trapping that heat in and really maximizing the heat that's already in the building or through other sources that are present within our home. Cool. So why passive house again? As we can see, durability and resistance down there in the corner, but also ultimate energy performance. There's stringent goals that have to be met. It's a path to net zero. It's a greater build quality, predictable results, and there are thousands of passive house buildings all over the world. The U.S. has the fewest. And so occupant health is a huge one. Energy performance is why a lot of people came. Occupant health is why everybody stays. The indoor air quality, the thermal comfort on those cold or hot days, and the avoidance of mold and condensation are huge principles of passive house, and they lead to this great occupant health. And then, of course, durability and resistance, avoiding that mold and condensation, and since we've got this nice tight air barrier with those filters that are on the ERVs, we can protect against smoke damage during fire events. And there's some really, really cool stories of that happening here in Colorado. Passive house is suitable for all climate zones, which is a common misconception. And it's great for residential, commercial, and institutional buildings, new construction, retrofits. And there's all kinds of studies that where passive house is working, across these building types. So this here is 2 buildings that are passive house certified in Massachusetts. And as you can see, they look very different. So this is just to show you kind of the scope of what a passive house building can look like. All right, so Massachusetts has enacted its specialized energy code, and a passive house is a path to compliance. New multi-family buildings over 12,000 square feet must achieve passive house certification, and is applicable in 56 different communities across Massachusetts. And you can go FIAS or PHI. But just to kind of show you the differences here we have 2021 code, 2024 code, some other familiar ones, Energy Star, Pretty Good House. And here are the FIAS courses here. They've got one called Core, PBS, and then this orange one here is actually the PHI. It's called a low energy building, and it's kind of like not quite passive house. And it's kind of on par with the FIAS projects. The original International Passive House Institute out of Darmstadt, Germany, still holds the best. And this is reduction of site energy for heating and cooling compared to the 2018 code. And so we still are holding the highest reduction of site energy across the scope of other building standards. So we like to say that passive house is the gold standard from the International Passive House Institute in Germany. So how do you educate your team on this? Now it's going to be required to build passive house buildings for multifamily. Also, it's just a really good idea. It can create a really healthy environment, energy efficient and durable. So how do we educate our teams on how to pull these projects off? So these higher performance goals require higher performance construction skills. So this continuing education is going to be a part of the solution. And we started training around 2010, and taking from our own projects. The hands-on training is really unique to us, and we have trained quite a few people. This is a little bit about our curriculum. You're going to go into why we build buildings, the science of why, which is going to get a lot into, laws of thermodynamics. We're going to go back to, our physics classes and figure out, how these physics properties apply to our buildings. Um, and then, yeah, you guys are going to become experts on, the passive house landscape, how certifications work and everything, but also insulation, thermal bridging, air, moisture, windows, ventilation, and just talking to, a lot of my construction colleagues. A lot of people need this kind of education, in they don't necessarily they haven't necessarily became an expert in these type of things. So um, and yeah, who is a great fit for this course? Builders, general contractors, tradespeople, architects and designers, spec writers, estimators, managers, project officers, site supervisors, and other professionals that might be working on this project. Our hands-on portion is really cool. As you can see, this is a simulation of a CMU, and so we have kind of these versions, also some stick frame options, and it's a really cool our pod to put it together to combine these different construction materials to pull off the insulation requirements and the air building or air sealing requirements. And yeah, this is just a really fun team building experience. And also, you do get to get your hands on real life products that will be used in these type of projects. So as you can see here, we've got some testing going on with our fog machine, pumping it into the pod to see where those leaks are, which is always a really fun realization when everybody's anticipating. You think you did really good. You start pumping some fog in there. You see it start leaking out at some spots, and there's some learning moments. You go back and look and say, wait, what did I do to make it leak in this spot? And we just find that having fun performing these experiments, getting your hands on these materials is just a great learning experience. And at the end of this, you will earn a certification through the Institute. So it's called a CPHT. And on Friday of the exam of the course, we'll take an exam, and it's valid for 5 years. And you can renew it with either projects or credits. We also provide continuing education. So if you have one of these certifications and you want to um, jump up, or you want to keep your certification renewed, you can use our course for that. Also, if you're an AIA member, the entire course counts as AIA continuing education credits. So that's 32 total, which is quite a bit. So the structure of our boot camp is going to be 4.5 days of in-person training. So the first 2 days, Monday and Tuesday, are going to be in a classroom with our instructors. This is Ben. Ben has worked on countless passive house projects, consulting, and been in the materials world as an architect, all kinds of things. And he is just a fantastic instructor. He keeps things really fun and engaging throughout the entire time. Days 3 and 4 is when we're going to have our hands-on workshop where we're going to be building the passive pods and putting them through testing. And then the last day is when we're going to have our exam. And students take different lengths of time on the exam, so this is viewed as a range. Our personal training has been pretty successful. We have trained quite a few people. Our pass rate is 95.4. So don't be intimidated by the test. We feel that we are really equipping people well to pass the exam. And our pass rate shows that. And yeah, we score pretty highly. We kind of collect this information about the exam and about the course afterward, and people really, really enjoy it. Now, the next one coming up in the Boston area is going to be in May. And this is a yearly occurrence, so this will just be a once a year stop for us. We hit all of these other places, and this is just the first half of the year. Um, cool. The building science course on Monday, the workshop on Wednesday, the exam on Friday, and then this is going to be held at the Hilton Garden Inn in Burlington. And by the numbers, so I'm going to go over the grant here in a moment, and this is kind of just a preface to this. So our course cost is $2,240. The exam cost is $450, and with the Massachusetts Express grant, the cost is just the cost of the exam. For some reason, they don't cover that, so it's going to be roughly 45 or $450 for each participant. Now, this is a reimbursement, so you will have to pay the complete fee up front and then get reimbursed, but you will be pre-approved for that. Oh, some bonus perks. We will get lunch, team building, and then a networking happy hour at the very end. That's going to be after the exam on Friday, which is super fun. All right, so let's go over the grant and how you guys can leverage these funds to take the EMU course and get your passive house certification for an extremely reduced rate. So the the Massachusetts Workforce Trading Fund Program, which is a mouthful, is a state-funded workforce training reimbursement for Massachusetts employees, open to businesses under 100 employees. And you've actually been paying into this through your unemployment benefits. And so this is a way to can maybe recoup some costs that you've already spent. Um, there's $15,000 eligible per company and $3,000 per employee. And the funds are awarded on a first come, first served basis, which pretty much just means that, this might not be around forever. We're actually in the dark about how long this lasts. So, and yeah, Massachusetts base under 100 employees. If you're paying into that unemployment, if you have a certificate of good standing, a certificate from the unemployment assistance, and a signed W-9. These are all of the things that you'll need. So these things might need to be requested, and so we're kind of getting ahead of this, and we've got some deadlines coming up that will help you kind of stay structured if you still need to submit for these two documents. So first of all, you will need that certificate of good standing. You can get this from the Massachusetts Department of Revenue, and it has to be within the last 6 months. And I've got a worksheet that I'm going to give out that's got all the information and the links to how to get that document. Also, certificate of compliance from the DUA, that's the unemployment assistance. And so you got to request this because it's only valid for a month after request. And once again, I've got a link in the worksheet to apply for that. And then lastly, this is the easy one, W-9. Cool. So between now, maybe you've got a little bit more time than March 20th of these. You want to get these documents together before the 30th. This is kind of how we recommend submitting the grant so that you have plenty of time and you don't have to worry about, whether you're going to get approved or not before it's time to register for the course. So we recommend that people submit by March 30th. Absolute last deadline. Actually, you can't be approved for the course for the grant if it's within 21 days before the start of the course. So you have to apply for this by April 15th. That's a hard deadline. There's our 21-day gap, and then on May 6th is when our registration closes. So this is actually 21 days before May 6th. And then, of course, the boot camp starts on the 11th and goes to the 14th. And then you have until June 14th to submit for the reimbursement. And once again, this is completely laid out in the cheat sheet that I will provide in the email. All right. I'll go ahead and stop it there. I want to thank everybody for checking this out. and take a peek for my cheat sheet that's going to be coming along with this email that has all of the timelines and links laid out for you. Have a great day, and hope to chat with you guys soon.